Agreements have to be changed, they keep on changing. SEBI will amend the listing agreement, it is binding and applicable to all the companies. That's how it's happening. It is now taking one more step ahead. Listing agreement is likely to be converted into listing regulations hereafter. If it becomes regulation, I think the force of the regulations will be even much more than what probably we see today. Listing agreement, still there is a civil jurisdiction, a fight can go on between us, but in the case of regulation, there I think straight away it comes into SAT jurisdiction, and 11B orders can be passed by the SEBI. It's a different ball game altogether. CFO shall be appointed by audit committee. That's another important requirement. That is, audit committee will also try to say, in addition to board appointing, audit committee has to sanctify, saying that this person who is going to come up is qualified, having expertise, and has got the background to become a CFO. That's how the audit committee is. And then listing agreement very specifically says that he has to make a certification that I have reviewed financial statements and they do not contain materially untrue statement or omit any material facts or does not contain any misleading statement. I mean, if he has to make a certification to that effect, you can understand the amount of responsibility he has to undertake. He has got to understand what is he doing, and he has to say that does not contain any fraudulent or illegal transaction. I just want to understand, if somebody unearths 350 crores of revenue after income tax raid has come, until then 350 crores was not reported, do you think CFO has no responsibility for this? If he has responsibility, why did he not do it? What could have been actually holding him back? The problem I think is a tremendous pressure from the promoter, maybe the short-term gain advantage, if at all, I don't know. I don't think promoters are going to reward you because you have helped them out in this. They expect it a part of your duty anyway, my dear friend, and therefore do it. Therefore, I don't think he's going to get out of 350 crores, 35 lakhs view. I'm not sure he'll get it at all. At least he's trying to be tempted for greed. I don't think so. It's expected that you do all these things for him. We know that software is released with two versions, black version, white version. That's what they expect. CFO has got black mind and white mind. That's what they expect probably, that those days are gone because you are certifying everywhere. And people are going to question you saying that what did you certify, what did you think of? Professionals have got to evolve. And then it also has to say, does not contain any transaction violative of any law and code of conduct of the company. Accept responsibility for internal controls into financial reporting. Look at the way the language is. Evaluated effect, he has to say that I have evaluated effectiveness internal controls for financial reporting and reported the same to the auditors. Not only that I certify, I also sensitize my auditors. So auditors are also in sync with me. All these responsibilities coming on CFO. Made auditors aware of significant change in accounting policies and disclose the same in notes to accounts. He has to say all this. And made auditors aware of fraud that they were aware of in which management or any employees involved. This fellow has to call the auditor aside and say, there is a fraud, management is involved, you please look into it. That's what is expected. You have got to spy on your own company. That's the expectation of law. There's one more thing, I don't know how many of you are aware of this. There's a requirement that you have got to file something called a Form A, Form B from in our language, in the exchange language. Form A, the problem that regulator is struggling today is the volumes of information in the name of disclosures is increasing. How do we simplify it? Okay, Gujarati thali is too big, elaborate, तो उसे कैसे convert करेंगे? एक tablet में हम गुजराती थाली का पूरा स्वाद लें. That's what exactly they are trying to say. You want, first thing is, I am very hungry, give me Gujarati thali. I go and sit there, इतना कैसा खाएगा, हम उसको थोड़ा कम करके दे दो. That's what is happening exactly. So you give so much of information and they say, no, please reduce and simplify it with me. How do we do it? Form A, Form B. Form A says clean audit report. Form B says audit report with a qualification. And who should say this? The company itself should say. In company, auditor has to sign, chairman of the audit committee has to sign, CFO has to sign, and the auditor has to sign. 4 people have to sign. So CFO has to stick his neck and say, this particular certificate I am giving you, the audit report given by the auditor does not contain any qualification or contains any qualification. This is expected of you, and this will be reviewed by exchange, and we are supposed to report to SEBI. SEBI has constituted a quality of audit report review committee, QARC they say, and QART may ask you to recast the accounts in case there is a qualification. Tremendous reach, it's not ordinary. I'll come to that. Let me complete just two more points to go and then finish it off. And then the last slide, my understanding is that now a situation has come where CFO cannot distance himself from the affairs of the company. He cannot distance. And CFO, let's understand, CFO is in that status because he is qualified to be in that status, and person accepting that role to understand and assess the company before taking responsibility. This is my earnest request to all our brothers you are sitting here. Please assess the company before you take up the assignment. Doesn't matter you are hungry for 2 days, but don't be eating a jail food. CFO is technically and legally responsible for the disclosure in financial statements. You can't escape it. CFO is perceived to be the party to whatever happens in the company. Kusne kiya? Usne kiya. Your name will be taken. There is no doubt about that. And therefore, he has to put his foot and often pen down to make impact on the governance of the company. Thank you. We'll take the questions.
I think we have a lot of time, about 15-20 minutes. So, but yesterday, sir, we had a session from Mr. Rajiv Pai, CFO of one company, and after his talk, many of the participants, felt whether we should really become CFO. And I think after your talk, I think none of them would,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying let us have character strength. What I'm saying, why should we not be? Why I should be CFO? But I am keeping my eyes and ears open, and I will not sign a paper I am not supposed to sign. That's all I am saying.
But it was really an eye-opener because many of the provision, even many of us were not aware because, the CFO's responsibility is so much.
Yes, that's the reason why I thought I will spend time on this point actually.
Yeah, yes, I think we will have a lot of questions.
Whether CFO can get his profile from the audit committee, what he has to carry on the duty, or this duty to be casted on him by default?
So already law has got some expectation, listing agreement has got some expectation, and CFO Accounting Institute of Chartered Accountants also has given you something. And therefore, profile specifically they may not be able to say, but every financial statement you are signing to the extent your profile is clear. And I don't think, unless you want to have a clarity, if there are two people doing the same work, maybe you can ask the management to give what is the appointment order and what my scope of work. That could be done. Yes.
Regarding what you said, he has to report committed by management also. He has to CFO has to report. In that case, he may be going against maybe the management or board. In that case, whether CFO has any protection from AGM or anybody?
AGM, what AGM will protect, sir? AGM, I don't know. AGM cannot protect us. I think only your professional qualification should protect you. That's all. No, let us be clear, no? Why are we trying? I am not talking in any formal sense of the term. We are on a Saturday morning, we are talking in a professional forum here. Well, let's understand where we stand, no? What is wrong in that? Professionally, I am saying that management is involved. Tell him that you are not supposed to do this. If he is doing it, you part your ways. We have seen in a recent, whether it is right or not, I am not passing a judgment. Somebody says that audit report given by shall not be relied upon. That's what they are making a statement today. We have come to that status today, and it is agreed and allowed in the society. Earlier, before last year, you tried to do that, auditor could have been ridiculed. Today it is not so. So whether it is a little late. Somebody says cabinet passes an ordinance, somebody from the party says, oh, nahi chahiye. It can be done today. All that is possible.
Yeah, whether he can declare by calling a press meeting, anything can do something. He say, I won't sign that, I not allow this agreement or anything, and still management want to him.
So there are other formal forums.
Yeah.
If you are already in the committees, within internal committees, you can always write a dissent note. You may not be able to call a press note and kill the company just like that. If you are having a difference with the management, you have got to say it, and definitely at the end of the story, you will not continue that company. Be sure about it. That's expected, no?
Sir, you have to become a politician to become a CFO.
Not necessarily. You have got to be a professional to be a CFO. A professional is committed to the profession he is doing, not the entities in which he is working. Until the last minute of our work, we shall be doing our job. The moment you say last minute, whatever has to be closed, close the professional way and get out. Next job is waiting for you. Don't worry. You don't have to be a politician for that. Don't have to be. Actually, you don't want to be politician is what exactly the whole sermon is in the law. That's what they are saying. Be professional.
Sir, the same thing can be applied to the politician.
That's not the forum. No, we are in a forum of CFOs.
Sir, director who is also the promoter,
Yeah.
can he be designated as a CFO?
There's no bar. There's no bar. So long as he is professionally qualified for the purpose, there's no bar. If audit committee is satisfied, he can be called so. They said audit committee has to check the qualification whether he is suitable for the position. It does not say chartered accountant in clear-cut terms. It doesn't say that.
Sir, these things you are elaborating, are they included in this new company amended act?
I think so, sir. I have given the provisions of the act also. Sections also I have given.
No. CFO, regarding the responsibility of the CFO.
Sir, I have given the provisions of the law. I have given the section numbers.
Company act, no?
Yeah.
So what is new about it? It was not there first time they are
No, it was not there. I don't think so.
included.
It was not there in so many words.
Huh.
It has been brought in clear-cut terms here.
Like in Labor Act, the inspector has been given a statutory provision. Like the IT Act, the bank manager has been given a
The
statutory provision.
CFO's role, it was not delineated in so many words in earlier act. It was expected but not expressed. It's now expressed.
That is what I am saying.
That's what I am saying.
First time they have included as a statutory provision, isn't it?
So that has a different force, sir. When you go to court of law, the judge will be compelled to read the provision and expect that behavior from you. Earlier it was an interpretation and understanding. Here it is a black and white. Judges will not, the moment something is statutory, judges will not overrule it, or they will not put an interpretative clause on that.
No, the inspector is a government employee. If he is not doing his duty, is the government of India or the government of Maharashtra is going to be punished? Not like that. Similarly, here also statutory provision, duties and responsibility has been, they have included, and CFOs will, they are performing and they will be performing. But the promoter cannot escape the responsibility of hiding any information or other things.
No, let us understand. We were not talking about whether promoter can escape or not. That was not the point of discussion at all.
Some of the.
That was not a part of discussion at all.
Okay.
What we are saying is, we as a CFO, what's our role? I am sure when they put a gun on my head, I will say, yes, you kill me, but also kill him. I will not keep quiet. That's a different matter. But then I am getting killed is important. Let us look at us first. I am sinking. I am catching somebody else's leg is a different matter. Let me try to swim. Let me do what I can do in terms of protecting my professional integrity. We are least interested in whether promoter is going to be punished or not. We should be safe first, isn't it? That's what I am talking about.
No, that is true, sir. Regarding this all the financial statement, the auditors also are responsible. Similarly, CFO is responsible. What is new about it?
There's
It is
no
our
new about it. Nothing new about it is said so today. They say you should treat Satyam Vada, it's coming from Vedas. Now they are saying, please tell the truth. That's being said even now.
This is fine.
It is being said. What is expected of you earlier, I have a very interesting discussion I had. I went to my managing director, I'll give a life example. I was working in depository, I went to Mr. Bhave, my managing director, sir, honesty is not being rewarded in this country, sir. He looked at me for 2 minutes and said, you are supposed to be honest, Narasimhan, what are you talking about? So what is the question of reward for you? You are expected to be honest after all. Similarly, CFO is responsible is known, but CFO is not behaving responsibly. That could be the thought of the legislator, and therefore is bringing this point into the provisions of law. Why did they write in the provisions of law today? That's what the evolution process is. That's what I am trying to say. They say that though you are known to be doing this, they are expected to be doing that, probably you were not doing it, therefore law is saying it. Since once law says it, courts of law, the whole process will change in terms of attitude towards the person. Yeah. Sir, I think I'm well within the time.
Yeah, we have time.
Okay.
Responsibilities, any rights have been given to CFO?
The only right I find is that he should be appointed by the recommendation of audit committee and should be appointed with board resolution. And therefore, when the question of legality comes in terms of throwing us out, we can always say, please go to the board and say that I am thrown out. I will not go by your managing director's letter. To that extent, we are safe. That could be a major advantage. That's why I am saying, as an institute of chartered accountant, most of you should be members of the institute probably, you should also lobby with the Institute of Chartered Accountants to say that just like regulations are giving the kind of protections to the compliance officers under the SEBI regime, probably under the Companies Act and tax laws, whenever CFO is touched or auditor is touched, there should be some kind of a recourse in terms of informing the regulator before he is removed. That kind of protection I probably we should try for, that will be good for us. Yeah. My reaction to this is, sir, wherever you think the situations are there, what is the documentation that exists with you as a CFO that matters a lot. If you have no documentation which suggests that I don't know this transaction, the internal notes you write, the mails you write does not talk about this concealment of information in any way, nothing can protect you. Because expectation is that you know everything. Expectation is that you know everything. The fact that you may not be knowing certain things is true, I don't deny that at all. But is there a documentation, a personal diary at least, which says that I was not knowing this transaction? Have you at least kept something somewhere to protect you?
For an employee CFO, for a practicing chartered accountant, for a professional, there is a concept of professional individual. For an employee CFO, is there a concept getting evolved?
To the best of my understanding, professional indemnity is taken by the employer for professional inefficiency, ineffectiveness, stroke, negligence of a professional employed by the employer. To that extent, the employer gets protected. I have not seen any insurance policy from the perspective of a professional getting indemnified. Directors and officers liability policy for legal protection. It's more for legal protection. It is not in the context where employer is trying to fix you. It's not in that context at all. Probably yes, we should ask for it. Again, professional body has to work for it. You are asking the insurance companies, insurance sector, not us. We all have to work. We have to work, I'm saying. I tell you, response is we have to evolve. If there are some changes in somewhere, we have got to see how we defend ourselves. We don't have to be scared. We should understand where we are going in. You are going into a war, go like a soldier. If you are going into a marriage, go like a doula. That's all I am saying. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Narasimhan. You have done your doctorate in which subject? I forgot to ask you. Mutual fund regulation. Okay. Yeah, your subject was quite heavy in that sense, but I think this was the only session I observed where participants laughed a lot, despite being heavy. But it was, only thing I can say, it was a brilliant presentation, and I think conceptually the members are more enlightened in the sense that they are aware as to what are the responsibility in terms of New Companies Act. Thank you very much. May I request Selina to propose a well-deserved vote of thanks to Dr. Narasimhan.
Good morning to everybody. It's a privilege on behalf of the Indian Merchants Chamber and the Chamber of Tax Consultants to propose a vote of thanks to Dr. Narasimhan. Well, always, accountants have always been, known to, or at least this perception that they are boring, serious people, and Dr. Narasimhan has very beautifully broken that myth with such a humorous and enlightening presentation as Mr. Choksi says. And I think, I remember my earlier boss telling me that accountants are har tarkari ka kaddu. I mean, it adds value, it adds taste, but it's there in everything. So I think it's just redefined well. And I would like to focus, and I think what Dr. Narasimhan also is saying, is to really focus on the positives. That is, your role is important, your responsibility is important, you're part of creating this world of transparency, being a part of creating a sustainable management practice of being very ethical, and being really well-read, aware, and being absolutely professional with no scope for complacency. So I think, Dr. Narasimhan, that was fantastic, very enriching. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We'll start next session in next 5 minutes. So please be seated, or maybe you relax for 5 minutes and then we'll start. Welcome back. I welcome Mr. Pramod Menon. He is going to deal with capital expenditure and other important aspects relevant when you are setting up a plant or the business. To briefly introduce Mr. Pramod Menon, he is a Director of Finance of JSW Energy Limited. He is an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and graduate of the Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India. Mr. Menon joined JSW Group in 1994 and has vast experience in the areas of project finance, corporate finance, treasury management, M&A, and investor relations. He took over as Chief Financial Officer of JSW Energy in April 2007 and played a key role in the successful IPO of the company in January 2010. Besides ensuring financial closure for the projects prior to joining JSW Energy Limited, he had been involved with various successful and notable restructuring and refinancing assignment of JSW Steel Limited. I have known Mr. Pramod Menon personally, and one thing which he has not mentioned in his biodata is a rank holder in CA exam and a very brilliant chartered accountant, and we are indeed fortunate to have him with us. And Pramod, welcome, and may I request Yatin to present him a memento.
Good morning to all of your colleagues. Welcome to this particular, I think it's a very good initiative IMC and the Chamber of Tax Consultants are taking up in terms of building up the CFOs. In the present context, if you look at it, it's a very, very relevant topic on project management is concerned, especially at these particular times when we are coming across. If you look around today, there are various issues that the projects are facing, either in terms of delays, caused by various issues maybe. At the same time, what we are reading in newspapers are the companies or the banks worrying about NPAs, companies rushing to get themselves restructured, either through the corporate debt restructuring cell or we have the companies going and adopting certain strategies of asset light, trying to dispose of the assets and trying to raise cash flows in order to sustain the existing business and also to complete what some people define as the last mile of their projects, wherein whatever has been planned at the onset, they have not been able to deliver, and there has been mismatch in terms of the cash flows, primarily with the ability to service certain amount of debt or to meet the commitment to various stakeholders because of the projects not being in a position to meet their respective timelines. I think it is important to understand the context with respect to why a project management is very critical in the present context. What are the various things which is making it a very, very important enabler? One of the first things is today, if you look at the scale and size of projects, have significantly undergone a change. When I started my career 2 decades back, if I look back, the size of a project, I assume, was 3,000 crores, which was a pretty big project. Today, if you look at it, an average size of a large, this is a country which needs huge amount of infrastructure, whether we are talking of ports, airports, power plants, telecom, you name a particular sector, and we are a country where we are talking of $1 trillion investments, especially in the infrastructure. So this is a particular area where we are going to have, as CFOs also, a huge amount of expenditure which will get incurred. And what has changed, or today, the scale and size of projects have become too humongous. Read last week, if you really see, the government of India has come out with a UMPP. There's one project in Odisha of 4,000 megawatt where the investment they are talking of 25,200 crores on one project. Similarly, Tamil Nadu, 24,200. The size and scale of projects have become so huge that it's extremely critical that we need to manage the projects very, very efficiently in order to ensure that we are able to deliver value. Second thing, which is, so that's one big thing, the size and scale of projects have increased. At the same time, what we see is the cost. The cost has changed. 2 decades back, if I look at it, cost of setting up 1 megawatt of power plant used to be between 2 to 3 crores per megawatt. Today, nobody is talking of less than 5 crores. You look at the dollar rupee itself, it was 30, today it is 60 plus. So the amount of costs that we are talking of each of every infrastructure projects has significantly multiplied. And that brings a significant onus on us in terms of managing the projects extremely carefully. This cost related aspect, each and every item you see, the costs have multiplied. What it has done, as far as our role is concerned, the margins have squeezed. The margin of error or the safety element as far as the projects are concerned, it has considerably reduced. Earlier what used to happen, let's say, even if some negative surprises used to come, we had the ability in terms of the cash flows to absorb that. Let's say over a period of time the cost used to increase, and let's say even if you are getting into a difficult hurdle or a challenging kind of an environment, over a period of time, year or so, you used to come out. So let's say over a period of time, just to give you an example, let's say the costs have gone up for all the projects. So the person who has put up a project earlier, over time he becomes efficient vis-a-vis. But today it has come to a point that there is no maximum headroom of further costs of new projects going up. The technologies are also coming up. There could be that a replacement cost of putting up a new project may slightly come down rather than it going up. The commodity prices world over has come down. So these are the kind of challenging issues that is confronting us, and that is what is making today a project management much, much critical than what it was maybe a few years or a decade back. And the margin of safety, at the same time, revenues are not going up to the same extent. The cash flow certainty is getting increasingly difficult, especially if you are in an infrastructure project. A lot of your cash flows are dependent to come from government, and there the certainty is not there. I would say that there is certainty of your cash flows, it will come, but when is a big question mark. What impacts is your present value. Something which you had to receive today You are not very sure whether you will receive after 10 months or after 6 months or 12 months. That uncertainty again causes today a cash flow turbulence. So when we are looking at a particular project, depending upon the sector and depending upon the kind of customer profile we have, we need to see how are we wanting to plan for those cash flows during those periods of cyclicality in the inflows. This is another criticality which is coming up, and that is what is throwing up the kind of complexity which is creating or turbulence, or let's say the major challenges which we as CFOs would face going forward. Another bigger change which is happening is the management bandwidth. If you look at today at this management level, we are besieged with complex problems. It is the increased complexities have increased. At the same time, because of technology, our response time has to be over email. You don't have to wait. The moment somebody poses a problem, you have to reply back immediately. Another issue comes up. The responses time is coming shorter. People expect immediately. What is happening is this is putting a lot of pressure on the management. At the same time, a lot of issues, especially on the regulatory side, whether getting consents, approvals, it is getting longer. And a lot of time of management gets choked in those. So what is happening is the management bandwidth is getting choked. Another reason for this is the multiplicity. Earlier, if you look at it, we used to do only one project at a time. Today, it is no more the case. What is happening today, you have got multiple projects at multiple locations. The management is sitting in some corporate office, either in Bombay or in Bangalore or let's say Hyderabad, or it could be Delhi, and you are trying to manage some 3 projects running to some 15,000 or 20,000 crores, sitting at an office, and then you need to. That was no of those challenges, let's say, we used to face almost a decade back. Earlier, it used to be one project, so you had the flexibility of, let's say, managing one project, entire time was devoted to that. Today it is not. All the 3 projects will demand and seek the same amount of time. So how do you manage in such a scenario? And how do you effectively bring all the 3 projects or 4 projects or multiple projects at multiple different locations? Each location will throw a different challenge at you. How do you manage that? That's what again the project management issue is coming up. And lastly, today the external environment is throwing much greater challenges today. Volatilities, whether it is in terms of the markets or commodities or governments or let's say the economic factors, is something that earlier it was a given that it is something that we could envisage and plan for. Today these uncertainties we can't plan for. So earlier when we were building up projects, there was in project cost an item called contingency. Those contingency factors were good enough to take care of deviations in the quantity, or deviations in the price fluctuations. It was not to protect, let's say, these kind of uncertainties. Today the challenge for us as CFOs is we have to try and see whether that contingency we have to make provision for these kind of external shocks, because these are a given now. We can't clearly predict that a government approval will come in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, and that kind of gap we have to. So what it puts pressure on us today is to try and see the quantity variances and the price variances, the probability of it reduces, so that these kind of contingency can be met from the same kind of pool. I don't have the flexibility to increase the contingency beyond a particular point, because then the project itself may become unviable or non-feasible or non-bankable. So this is the context under which a project management or an effective project management becomes a key differentiator in the present context. And that is why we as CFOs and as finance professionals have a key role to play. What exactly are we looking in terms of a project management? If you were broadly to look at what exactly is the objective. The objective is on 3 counts. If you look at it as far as the project is concerned, we are looking at the project should not compromise on quality, the project should come up on time, the project should come up within the cost. There should be cost efficiency. These are the 3 elements that we are looking at in terms of project management. How do we, and I would say it's these three balls that we juggle with in terms of ensuring that I should get the right quality, but I should not, in terms of quality, spend too much of time in terms of getting the right design and this thing, because time is also of essence. The more time I spend, my cost also goes up. Similarly, as far as time is concerned, when I'm looking at trying to complete something within a given deadline, I have to ensure that my quality does not suffer. At the same time, to do something fast, I don't end up paying more, that my cost goes up. So it is these three factors. At the same time, project management also, what it does is to ensure that we are able to predict and debate and understand what are the various nuances with respect to the project, and whether those nuances we can proactively evaluate and come to a conclusion so that we can decide whether I want to attack the cost or the time or the quality. It's the proactiveness which is required as far as the project management is concerned. So given this context, as also the deliverables that we are looking with respect to this project management is concerned, where does the CFO come in play? If you look at today us as finance professionals, I would say this is one particular professional within an organization who has the ability to understand the end-to-end of a business is concerned. There's no other, and at the same time, we as professionals have the ability to influence the entire decision-making chain to the maximum extent than any other professional colleague of ours as far as an organization is concerned. And to that extent, we have a very, very significant role to play in terms of project management. And our understanding of the business is pretty good. And finally, what any business is concerned with, it is only concerned with the top line and bottom line, everything getting translated to certain figures and making a sense whether I should get into it or not. This sense of commercial understanding, legal understanding, compliance understanding, as also the overall business perspective, we as finance professionals are much better placed. And similarly, if I look at it, we have the ability to tackle each one of them in the most efficient manner. Now, when it comes to project management, I would rather say this is into three stages. And this is the most important stage, and it is given the least as far as importance by us is concerned. It's the planning stage. What all are the various activities where we as CFOs can really make a big impact on this particular stage? Planning, my friends, is an issue which is more ingrained in our Indian DNA. We generally don't believe as far as planning is concerned. And that is where I think a sea change has to take place. We have had various joint ventures. We have a joint venture with a Japanese company. Now, the amount of time, let's say when we were trying to forge the joint venture, they took an n number of time trying to debate. But once it comes to execution, they are much faster than us, because at that time we start thinking. They don't think their thinking process has already taken place. Similarly, when we were trying to implement the project, the amount of time that they have spent, that we have to give ourselves time in terms of planning, designing the business model, understanding what the business attribute, what are the various risks, what is our plan A going to be, let's say if certain changes happen, what are the amount of scenario analysis which has to be done, and whether we need to get into, and this particular process is a very, very critical process. I would say the first thing, any project that we take up, please we have the ability to understand the business much better. Please understand the business. Whichever company or whichever organization, whichever sector we are in, first try to understand the business, go beyond our normal routine of the accounting aspects or the financing aspects. We need to understand the business much better, because it will help in terms whether finally when I am negotiating the loan documents, what are the terms I need to have the loan documents. Because those are very, very critical when you are going at implementing a particular project is concerned. Because at the same time, when you are negotiating for a loan document, when you are sitting across in a commercial negotiation trying to structure the contract with a supplier or a contractor, the basic understanding of the business is very, very critical. I'll give you an example. First important is to understand the business model very, very well. What are the 5 drivers as far as your business is concerned should be very, very clear, because those 5 criticalities, then you have to see how you want to protect in your documentation, in the agreements that you're negotiating is very, very critical. I will give you an example. We had a mining project. In the mining project, the entire land was concerned. It was not to be procured by us, it was to be procured by the government and given to us, and the government will transfer it into our joint venture. Now, when we were very, very clear that such an instance is going to happen, there is a government agency involved, they have to transfer the land. I am not the guy who is involved with respect to buying. It is critical that we as a role of CFO, what is our role in when it comes to project management, people say, no, you have to fund only. So everybody will immediately look at you, paisa nahi aa raha hai, or you are not able to draw. So when you know that this particular nuance is there, what we did, when we were negotiating with the lenders, or when we gave our project appraisal note, we mentioned that as far as security creation of the land is concerned, we just continued our focus on that, and we just put certain conditions that it will be with consent of, and our negotiations were nothing as far as the document is concerned, but just on that security angle. Today, friends, we are 3 years into that mining project. I don't still have the land transferred into my name, but as far as the project is concerned, we have been able to sustain the project. The project has not survived. There has been no deviation that the banker can say that I have deviated or there's a non-compliance as far as my loan documents is concerned. My loan drawal at any point in time never came to an halt. 3, there is no penalty of any nature on account of non-security creation. So these are the nuances that we need to get. What are the various criticalities of your project? Please get into the brass tacks of it. Please get into the business aspect of it. Then you have to see where you have to design, so that it is our responsibility to ensure that the project is not getting delayed, project is getting funded. If you have not done, what would have happened? Either we would have gone and paid, or you have to go to the lender time and again for waiver. Each of these steps will delay the fund disbursal process, and your entire project will get pushed back. And if these projects are integrated projects, then it will have other multiple consequences. Similarly, other than the thing is the risk evaluation is part of the business model exercise. Please identify 5 or 7 key drivers, and these drivers during the planning stage, I would say we should also communicate it to our respective other departments, like the legal department or a commercial department, because they also have to get involved. Yes, these are the clauses that I need to protect when it comes to documentation. Then it comes to, as far as the financial budgeting part is concerned, on the financial budgeting part, we need to go into the drill down. I would say, until unless we have completed these 2 steps, then if at all we want, even say the promoter to change certain things, and today promoters to a large extent are ready to hear as far as the finance professional is concerned, because they are also interested in making the projects bankable. They are also keen in terms of understanding what are the risks are concerned, and until unless we are able to point out, today, mind you friends, we have a project on which I have got MOEF approval, I have got forest approval, I have got land. I could have 5 years back, given the same scenario, we would have started the project. Today we have taken a decision not to start, because there are circumstances have changed. I may have the pressure from the promoter, but he also understands that if we start, we will get stuck somewhere. So you have to understand the business and then guide as far as whether certain projects are doable, not doable, what are the risks as far as doing or taking up certain issues are concerned. As far as financial budgeting is concerned, please go to the brass tacks. We have to break it down into the different elements of land, get each and every details, whether it is the quantitative details of quantum of the cement or let's say steel. You have to get into the brass tacks of each and every. Why it is important at the planning stage itself is 2-3 aspects it helps us. It's just not the accounting aspect of it. It helps